When Elizabeth came to power in 1558, she was faced with 7 massive challenges and threats to her reign. As part of your history GCSE, you must be familiar with all 7 of these challenges and have an idea of the ranking and order of seriousness and significance that you would put them in. And in particular, you've got to start to consider what are your criteria behind why one challenge is more significant than the others. Elizabeth's first challenge is settling the religious divisions in England. You had the Catholics, you had the Protestants, you had the Puritans, different groups who were all fiercely believing that their faith was the right way forward. Elizabeth had to consider the impact of the decisions made by the 3 previous Tudor monarchs. Her father, Henry VIII, who had broken the English church away from Rome and had angered many Catholics. Henry's son, Edward VI, who had made England even more strongly Protestant, introduced a new prayer book and had angered Catholics further. And finally, her half-sister Mary, who had restored the Catholic religion of her mother, Catherine of Aragon. Mary had married King Philip of Spain and had become infamous for the burning of many, many Protestant martyrs who refused to change their beliefs back to Catholicism. Elizabeth had to consider any choice she would make and the implications that would have on England's relations with its neighbours. France, Spain and Scotland were all Catholic. Any choice Elizabeth made could have grave consequences. As well as looking abroad, Elizabeth had to look within England towards her own people. In the north of England, there was significant support for Catholicism, whereas in the south, there was more of a support towards Protestantism. It would seem a compromise would be the best solution to Elizabeth's problems, but she also knew that by choosing a middle way, she ran the risk of angering everyone and pleasing no one. The next challenge Elizabeth faced was addressing poverty and hardship throughout England. When she became queen, she inherited a debt of £300,000 from the war England had been fighting against France. As well as financial issues, there was concern about possibility of poor harvests. There had been some significant poor harvests in the years just prior to Elizabeth's reign, and as well as that, there was always the concern that a major disease would come through and wipe out large sections of the population. The third challenge for Elizabeth was choosing the men who would form her Privy Council. These councillors would have a crucial task for Elizabeth. They would be responsible for running the country and ensuring that her desires and her wishes were met. Important figures around the council are the first Secretary of State, William Cecil, who Elizabeth chose to be her principal advisor, and as well as this, her close friend Robert Dudley, who was the Earl of Leicester. She did not immediately choose to make him a councillor, realising her relationship with him could cause jealousies amongst other people.